notes or to let this past week go, or maybe you're here because we have an incredible speaker. And whatever brought you here, I'm so thrilled that you're here, and I'm wishing you a Shabbat Shalom. Before we'll get started, I want to introduce you to our guest this evening. This is Rabbi Julie Sachs-Thaler, and she is the chief organizer of the California Religious Action Center, and we'll be hearing a little bit more about what that is. Do you prefer to do that now or during your drash? During her drash. So you will hear a little bit. Yes. So we will start Shabbat, but we're just so blessed. We are so blessed to be here. The one other thing that I'll say is that our community has made it back to the green level of COVID. We're so grateful to be back there. What that means for our community is that we are able to be mask optional once again. We do ask, both for this Shabbat and also just in general, that if you start noticing symptoms that even if it's just a runny nose or starting to feel a little coughy, that you just take a step, take a note, and if you start feeling that way, to join us virtually, just so that we can continue to make sure that our levels are low in the community to protect everyone. But we're so thrilled to be back in the green and to, just have a little bit less of a worry on our shoulders when we come together. So let us get into the Shabbat spirit together by taking a deep breath and having gratitude for clean air and for Shabbat. And we will sing a nigun together. Yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai dai dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai dai dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai. Yada dai 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 dai, yada dai dai dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai dai dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai. Yada dai 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 dai, yada dai dai dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai dai dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai, yada dai 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 dai. We continue welcoming in Shabbat with the lighting of Shabbat candles. It's my pleasure to invite Susan Amaro to light the Shabbat candles for us. The reading can be found on page 126, and the blessings can be found on page 120.
While she's doing that, can you check and see if you have the pickup plugged into your guitar?
I probably don't. Thank you.
I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics, and no services, but I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illuminate all of us and to bring that vision to life. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. We are on page 138. As we sing the words Lecha Dodi, let us go and greet the Shabbat bride. Shabbat does come whether we greet her or not, but we should. We should go out and greet her. That's part of our Shabbat experience. That's part of what makes Shabbat special, is Shabbat coming to us and us coming to Shabbat. We are on page 138. Lecha dodi likrat kalai, alalai, 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 penei Shabbat, nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kalai, alalai, 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 penei Shabbat, nekabela. Shamor v'zachor v'dibur echad, hishmi'anu el ha'meyuchad. Adonai echad u'shmo echad, v'shemu tiferet v'litzchila. Lecha dodi likrat kalai, alalai, 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 penei Shabbat, nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kalai, alalai, 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 penei Shabbat, nekabela. Likrat Shabbat, lechu ki hi mekor habracha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila. Lecha dodi likrat kalai, alalai, 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 penei Shabbat, nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kalai, alalai, 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 penei Shabbat, nekabela. Please rise in the ways you're able. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam besimcha uvetzohala, toch emunei am segula, boi chala, boi chala. dodi likrat kalai, alalai, 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 pene Shabbat, nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kalai, alalai, 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 pene Shabbat, nekabela. Please be seated. We turn to page 140. Kabbalat Shabbat is one of my favorite parts of the service. You've probably heard me talk about this before. When we're doing Kabbalat Shabbat, we are singing psalms to get us into the Shabbat spirit, to feel some joy, to talk about music, because music's so integral to the Shabbat experience, and also because it's kind of a psalm sandwich a little bit. We have some psalms, and then we have Lecha Dodi, and then we have some other psalms on the other side of that, and it makes a lovely, I guess really it's a Lecha Dodi sandwich because the psalms are the bread. But we usually together do the psalms beforehand, but we are going to learn a new melody that is on the other side of Lecha Dodi. And the words are Tov lehodot ladonai. Can I hear you say that? Tov lehodot ladonai ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, which means that it is good to give thanks to Adonai and to sing God's highest name. A lot of times when we're talking about the work that needs to get done, it makes it seem as though we're in a place that's not that great. And it turns out that while there is work to be done, we have actually been given such wonderful gifts in the world. And so even as we talk about work that needs to get done, it's also good to talk about the gratitude that we have for the world that we live in and how things are going. So I actually am going to invite Rabbi Sachs-Thaler up to help us sing this melody. And we'll repeat it a few times. So even if you don't get it at the very beginning, that's totally fine. When you get it, sing along. Or lie, 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 die, die, die gets the work done just as well. They're going to get it. They're going to get it, I'm sure. So the words are starting on the second line in the Hebrew transliteration if you're looking for some reference. No, that's not right. There we go. Okay. So the melody goes like this. Tov lehodot ladonai ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Tov lehodot ladonai ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Let's do that one more time. Hodot ladonai ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Tov lehodot ladonai ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. That's beautiful. So this next part, we will sing together. And if you want to follow along, it's just the next two lines after that. Lehagid baboker chastecha ve'emunatcha balelot. 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 Tov lehodot ladonai ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Tov lehodot Adonai, ולזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות. להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון. Thank you. We continue on page 146 for the words of Baruch. Please rise in the ways that you are able. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Please be seated. On page 149. At the very bottom. I know that the tide is not an independent force, but merely the submission of the water to the movement of the moon and its orbit. And this orbit, in its turn, is subject to other orbits which are mightier far than it. And so the whole universe is held fast in the clinging grip of strong hands, the forces of earth and sun, planets and comets and galaxies, blindly erupting forces ceaselessly, stirring in ripples of silence to the very depth of black space. Words by Amos Oz. Baruch Ata Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. Page 150. Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta, otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochvenu ufkumenu nasiach bechukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha b'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu uvahem negei yomam ve'layla negei yomam ve'layla ve'ahavatcha al tasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev amo Yisrael Ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Veshinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, b'shiftecha b'veitecha, uvlechtecha v'derech, uvshochbecha uvkumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, Uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha lema'an tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kadoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiot lachem lelohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem emet. We turn to page 159, and it's my pleasure to invite Leslie Strauss to share with us a reading.
Sing the song of men and women, joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come, the song of a land once ravaged by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace.
We are on page 158, and we sing the words of Mi Chamocha, who is like you, Adonai. ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Mi chamo chava elim Adonai, mi chamo chane darba kodesh, norate hilo do se fele, norate hilo do se fele. Malechutecha ora uvanecha bokei ayam lifnei Moshe uMiriam, Se'eli anu ve'amru, Se'eli anu ve'ameru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Ya la la, ya la la la, ya la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la la la, ya la la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Before we sing words of Hashki Venu, let's pause for a moment to think about the shelter of peace that we wish for ourselves and for others in the world. Is it a metaphorical shelter? Is it a physical one? Is it an umbrella? Is it some sunscreen? Let's pause a moment and picture in our head, what shelter of peace are we praying for this evening? What do we hope that will come to others? And what do we hope we can bring to others? We're on page 160 at the bottom. Baruch atah, atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Baruch atah, atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Ve'al Yerushalayim, ve'al kol amo, ve'al Yerushalayim, shalom. We turn to page 164 for the words of tefillah. It is my hope and wish that you can find the strength to rise in all of the ways that you are able, physically, spiritually, emotionally, whatever is something you can accomplish. I encourage you to do so. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Hakol, Ve'zocher Chastei Avot V'imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol atah Rav le'Hoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim ve'rofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayim emunato, Lishenei afar, Micham hocha ba'al gevurot, Umido melach, Melech memit umechayeh, Umatmiach Yeshua, V'ne'emanata l'hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kadoshim b'chol yom yehallelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Please take a moment for your own silent prayer. And when your personal prayer is complete, feel free to be seated. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. Oh, say shalom. Bim romav. Oh, say shalom. Bim romav. Huya aseh shalom. Huya aseh shalom. Huya aseh shalom. Aleinu. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. Oh, say shalom. Bim romav. Oh, say shalom. Bim romav. Huya aseh shalom. Huya aseh shalom. Huya aseh shalom. Aleinu. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. It is now the moment we have all been waiting for. We are going to hear some words of wisdom in just a moment from Rabbi Julie Sachs-Thaler. And she will explain to you a little bit more about the work that she does and the organization that she works for. And we will learn many things from it, I am sure. And as she mentioned to some of the people who are in the group, who came earlier this evening, she may also ask you a question or two, and we hope that you'll respond as well.
Shabbat Shalom. How's the mic? Good? Okay. Thank you, because obviously I forgot to turn it on earlier, didn't I? Shabbat Shalom. It's so nice to be here. As I said to a couple of you, it's been a long time since I was here, but it's really nice to come back. I am a Bay Area native, and my work in Jewish education a long time before rabbinical school actually used to bring me here sometimes. But it's really nice to just start to meet a few of you, and I look forward to meeting the rest of you. As Rabbi Mukun said, do you go by Rabbi Zoe? Yeah. So as Rabbi Zoe said, I am the organizer for RAC California. The RAC is the Religious Action Center of Reform Judaism. It is ours just by being a member of a Reform synagogue. You are part of the URJ, the Union for Reform Judaism, and the RAC is part of the URJ. So this is our organization, and for it's been a decades-long connection that we can be so proud of, the work that we've done as a movement through the Religious Action Center. And about 10 years ago, just over 10 years ago, a group of rabbis and lay leaders started thinking about the work that social justice teams at congregations do. And I don't know exactly what you do, but a lot of congregations for a long time have been doing work, especially in the areas of housing, homelessness, food security, feeding people who are hungry, sometimes helping with shelter, sometimes helping with immigration justice or helping accompany people who are moving to this country. That's the kind of work that we usually have done. And we want to keep doing that. And people started saying to ourselves, wow, we could do this forever, and the problems will go on forever, unless at some point we look upstream to where the problems are coming from. And we also, in addition to helping the people who need our help right here, locally, wherever we are, if we don't get involved in the policies that lead to these problems, they will go on forever. But if we do, maybe we can actually make some change. And so we started working on various issues, one at a time. And maybe some of you have been involved in that. We've worked on immigration justice. And in fact, one of the first things I was part of when I was a congregational rabbi in San Francisco was to go to Sacramento with a group of people from RAC, California. And we showed up, about 40 of us, in Sacramento to lobby for something. At the time it was called the Trust Act. And it was a precursor to what became the sanctuary state law, making sure that California would be a sanctuary for immigrants. And some people were surprised that we showed up as a group of Jews, not on some parochial Jewish issue, but on something else that we care about as Jews. And it was really exciting to see what it meant for us to show up that way, and that it was important to people to hear from us as a community. And for me, that's one of the reasons I love doing this work, is because we get to show up together as Jews. I think sometimes it's not, we need to remind ourselves why that's important. So I want to tell one more story about doing that kind of work as Jews. In the first couple of years that I was a rabbi in San Francisco, there was a strike of the hotel workers. This was 2005, maybe? 5 and 6, and you might remember it. It was a big deal because it wasn't one hotel. It was the hotel workers of 14 different international hotel chains. And it wasn't just the workers who had banded together, but the employers. The hotels themselves had banded together, and that was preventing the workers from getting some of the things they needed. And it wasn't just about wages, it was about all kinds of conditions. So this strike was going on, and I was connected with some people in the Jewish community who were supporting the workers in the hotels, who we learned were having all kinds of experiences like injuries because they were housekeepers doing too many rooms at a time and things like that. So I showed up and got involved and started learning a lot, and a group of Jewish rabbis and cantors decided to create a petition and sign it together, saying we would love to officiate at simchas that are held in the hotels, but not until the labor strike is over and you've dealt with the problems. And then this was heightened by the fact that there were ads in the, what was it called then? The Jewish Bulletin, right? Now it's the J Weekly, but I think then it was the Jewish Bulletin. And there were some of these hotels that were taking out ads specifically in the Jewish Bulletin saying, have your wedding or your bar bat mitzvah celebration here at our hotel, and if you keep kosher, we will kosher our kitchens for you. You can have your kosher simcha here in our hotel. And I ended up having the incredible honor of going with a delegation of rabbis to meet with one of the general managers of one of the hotels, and getting the chance to hand over our petition of over 40 clergy people from the Jewish community alone, saying, thank you for reaching out and caring about whether we can have a kosher simcha at your hotel. But for us, honestly, it isn't kosher until you're treating your workers right. And we would love to come to your hotel, but we need you to take care of your relations with the people who work for you. And I will not forget the look on the face of the general manager when they realized that this outreach that they thought was so smart, thoughtful, maybe clever to talk about keeping kosher was being turned back to them to say, this is what keeping kosher actually means to us. And it was one of the times that I really learned how powerful it is to really show up as who we are. And it also invites other people to show up as who they are. We're not the only ones with a message about integrity and living our principles. But when we really show up with our principles, people notice, and they can show up with their principles as well. So that's one reason I love this work. I want to move to the Torah portion, Va'era, which is the second Torah portion in the book of Exodus. And there are some amazing connections right here. One of them is that we're at the beginning of the story, not the very beginning, we're in the second portion of Exodus, but we're near the beginning still of the story of the back and forth between Pharaoh, Moses and Aaron, and the Israelites, right? And I remember when I first, maybe I was 10 or so, thought through what was going on in this story, and I just couldn't believe the Pharaoh. How he would be convinced by each plague, and he would say, okay, go already. This terrible thing you've done to my people, go, get out. But as soon as the plague ended, what would happen? Oh, before the next plague, you're right. There would be as soon as every plague would end, there'd be another plague. That's so true. But in between the plagues, what would happen? Sorry? He would change his mind. It was immediate. He would forget how bad the plague had been and change his mind. And then it would happen again. And I remember thinking, this Pharaoh is not very smart. I mean, why doesn't he learn? And it took until the very end when the most devastating thing happens to him. And finally, and even then, he still changes his mind, right? And chases the Israelites down to the sea. And I just remember feeling like I would never be so dense, right? So unable to learn. And I recently found a commentary by Sforno. Sforno is a medieval rabbi and commentator and physician as well, who says about what Pharaoh does. He says, Pharaoh reinforced his natural courage not to be frightened. This is after the plague of the frogs, right? So it sounds funny. We sing funny songs about the frogs, right? But if you imagine the land being overrun with frogs, it actually sounds a little scary. And in part of this commentary, they're referred to not as frogs, but as crocodiles, which is a whole nother level of scary. Right? So Sforno says that Pharaoh reinforced his natural courage not to be frightened of these crocodiles even after the plague was over. And he's even put up with the stench of the decaying beasts after they had died. And they're all over the land. And Sforno says all of this mental getting his courage up and becoming used to this terrible stench, all of this rather than to admit that he could not win against the God of the Israelites. That's a lot of mental work to be in denial. And again, we can just notice how thick-headed he is. He just won't get it. Right? Again, after the plague of the crocodiles or the frogs, then there are the wild beasts. And he does it again. So now, RAC California, the network of congregations across California, we launched last June, and maybe some of you joined the call, and there is plenty of time because we launched, but now we then got really involved in the election, as I know some of you did as well. and some of you through our project, through the RAC, sending postcards and doing phone banking. So now we're coming back to the campaign we launched. And that campaign is called Climate Tzedek, or Climate Justice. And it's a campaign to address the crisis that we are living with, whether it's drought or rain that is affecting us in a different way than it would if we weren't in a drought, right? We know that the flooding is in part not just because of the rain, but because of the drought. That's made it harder, that's made the land unable to absorb water as it otherwise would. So we have this campaign, and I'm thinking a lot about climate, and I find myself thinking, we seem to be a little bit thick-headed. We can't seem to remember rain once the sun comes out. It's similar to, it's hard for us to remember the fires of the fall once the smoke clears. We hear people talking so much about how, whew, what a relief, the smoke has cleared, and now we can go back to normal. Right? And I don't know, how many of you have heard or even felt it yourself? Oh, we can go back to normal. And I think about the challenge of getting ourselves to understand that we actually need to change because normal has changed and is continuing to change. Well, it turns out, I think, actually, Judaism is full of tools to help us remember something that's hard to remember. In fact, we just sang Mi Chamocha, and the reason that Mi Chamocha is in all of our services, every single Shabbat, and in fact, every day, if you were to do the service, that's every day, Mi Chamocha is there too, to try to help us remember something that we can easily forget, which is we were once enslaved, and now we're free, and we want to use our freedom and be grateful for it and use it. And Judaism is full of tools to try to help us wake up. And even though the words of so many of our rituals are repeated, they are trying to wake us up to what's actually happening now. To look around and see, oh, it's evening, or it's morning, or it's Shabbat, or it's a new month. So we have all these wake-up calls. So this work we're going to do, this campaign, is really about coming together and waking ourselves up and then waking others up. And we really cannot do it alone. The other piece that I want to bring from the Torah portion that has to do with organizing on climate is, I don't know, does anybody here have a PhD in climate science? Sometimes you can ask that and you actually get several people. Yeah, I don't either. There might be someone here who is in public policy and has a lot of knowledge and experience there. Anyone here in public policy? Okay. So, me neither. I'm trained as a rabbi. And then here I was in this job because I think we can do something, and I think maybe we don't have to have a PhD or a degree in public policy. But I think we ask ourselves that question all the time, and that is exactly the question that Moses has in his mind when God comes to him with this big job, right? So what happens? God says in the last week's Parsha, Moses, I have a job for you. And it happens again. It gets repeated here. And what does Moses say?
Talk to Aaron.
Moses says no. And then, yes. Well, actually, God says, I'm going to send Aaron with you because Moses says, no, I can't do this. In fact, what in particular does he say? Why does he not want this job?
He's slow of speech.
What does he say he's not good at? Yeah, I'm not a good speaker. And you're giving me a job that really requires speaking. You want me to go talk to Pharaoh, and I'm just not good at it. And does God care? No. Not the least bit. God barely even answers the question. Oh, I'll send Aaron with you. And when Moses brings up it again, God just moves right on. There's a very interesting part that I hadn't read before looking about speaking to you tonight. We're going along in the Torah portion. We've already met Moses and Aaron. And then we get a genealogy of their family and who they're from. And it says, oh, here come Moses and Aaron. Even though we've already met them. We got their genealogy. And then it says, here are all the people who came before, and eventually they gave birth to Aaron and Moses and Miriam, their family. It is the same Aaron and Moses to whom God said, bring the Israelites out of Egypt. It was them who spoke to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, saying, let my people go. These are the same Moses and Aaron. Wait, did I just say that 3 times? 3 times in 1 or 2 verses. It keeps saying, it's that same Moses and Aaron. In case you thought I was talking about a different Moses and Aaron, no, it's the same ones. Over and over again saying, it's this Moses and Aaron. Just those regular people who have a speech impediment, who have been part of an oppressed people, who don't have a degree in community organizing or public policy or climate or any other thing, or getting the people out of Egypt. They have no training and they're sure they can't do it. It's those people. And as I read this over and over again, I thought, you don't get a repetition like this unless there's a point being made. And it must be that we're getting the message, it's just those regular people who need to get us out of Egypt. And it must be just us who need to get us into a new place with this climate crisis we are in. With floods that the director of the Climate Center told me yesterday, she said, I hate to scare you, but the flooding is going to get worse because the rains are going to be longer. Because the El Nino and the El Nina, each of those different wind patterns are going to get longer. That's what we're seeing. And so she said, it's going to need to be just us who make sure that California actually reaches the goals we've set. And we're behind. We're behind in those goals. And she said, not only are we behind, but they weren't quick enough in the first place. That sounded bad. But then she told me all kinds of policies that the Climate Center and others have prepared and that people are getting behind. And members of the RAC California research team have been meeting with some of these groups, and there's a lot of excitement. So on the one hand, it's just us, and on the other hand, we are not alone. And I'm really excited for us to launch the next part of our campaign, which will be to get together and learn about specific policies that we can get behind. And getting behind them is going to look like bringing our Jewish creativity, congregation by congregation, but also banding together to show up and say, here's what's kosher to us, or here's what we've learned about how we should relate to the land and the air and the water. So I'm excited to do that work with you. And I'll just say that the next thing coming up, the opportunity to connect with the campaign next, is that in San Francisco on March 19th, I believe, we have 4 of them. So we're having 4 regional gatherings, and the one for the extended Bay Area is on Sunday, March 19th, being held at Sherith Israel, and people will be coming from congregations all over the greater Bay Area to learn about particular policies and campaigns that we can be connected to and how to do that work as a congregation. So I hope that you will join us, and I'll be available to help you to answer questions, to think about that process, to think about what kind of creative things we can do, and to remember that, yeah, it was the same Moses and Aaron and Miriam and everyone else who didn't think of themselves as experts, who ended up making all the difference. And we can do that again. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. wiser after that. How about you guys? Sorry. There we go. Before we return back to our service, I just want to say that I'm personally really excited to be going to the regional gathering. And we, as a Temple Beth Torah community, have a goal of getting 7 people to come with me. So if this is something that is interesting to you, if it is something that, even if you don't know that it's something you're that invested in quite yet, but you like the idea of getting together with other members of our community and other Jews from around the Bay Area, this is the opportunity. This is the opportunity that we have. It's the first regional gathering of really almost any Reformed Jewish institution since the pandemic started. So regardless of what inspires you, if there is even just a small part of that that sounds interesting to you, I hope that you will consider signing up and joining me, and feel free to talk to me about that after services. And it sounds like Rabbi Sextaler has something to say.
What I forgot to say, and I realized, Rabbi Zoe's not going to toot her horn, so I have to do it. That just to say that Rabbi Zoe has joined the leadership team of RAC California, and it's really so nice for me because it's how I've started to get to know you. And you have, I don't have to tell you, you're such a great person for your rabbi, but know that she's part of this basically steering committee of RAC California, and is a chance for you to, when you have an idea or a question, that you can be in touch with me, but also with Rabbi Zoe.
Well, thank you. Yes. Just
had a feeling you wouldn't.
No, of course not. My ego is just through the roof. We're going to have roof repairs, it seems. So, on that note, if this is something that is interesting to you, please feel free to be in touch with me. Feel free to be in touch with Rabbi Sextaler. And we have important and good work to do together. So, with those words of Torah on our mind and our heart, we think of those who are in need of healing. Healing of body, healing of soul, healing of spirit. If you are thinking of someone, perhaps someone else, perhaps yourself, who is in need of healing at this moment, if you're joining us virtually, please feel free to type their name into the chat, or to just hold their names in your heart. And for those who are in person, please feel free to share their names aloud or in your heart as my hand passes your section.
Cheryl Smith, Adrian Brown, Greg Spiegel, and Bruce Baldwin. Sister Jeannie, Alan, Kevin, and Carrie Ann.
We'll pause just one moment in case our friends on Zoom are still typing. For those whose names we've said aloud, those that we've typed in the chat, and those that we keep in our hearts, we turn to page 371 for the words of Mi Sheberach. Mi Sheberach Avotenu Mekor We continue on page 586 with the words of Aleinu. Please rise in all the ways you are able. Aleinu leshabeach la'adon hakol, la'tet gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoye haratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama, shelo samcho kenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malachei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu v'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom Bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad ushemo echad. Please be seated. We take this moment to remember those who have impacted this world and impacted us by their lives, despite the fact that they are no longer physically present with us. This Shabbat, we are remembering the following people whose yahrzeits occurred this past week. Please rise as your loved one's name is read. Arlene Burstein, mother of Marcy Roth. Robert Joseph DeMar, brother of Joan LaBelle DeMar. Jerome Eisenbruck, father of Alan Eisenbruck. Rebecca Hodes, remembered by Jonathan King. Francis King, remembered by Babe King. Willie Morris, husband of Marla Morris. Daisy Morrow, sister of Bessie Rosenberg. Jerry Swartz, remembered by Ann Anderson. Daisy Yan, remembered by Holly Diamond Yan and Jason Yan. We now invite all who are observing their first year of mourning to rise at this time. And now we rise as a community with our mourners and turn to page 598 for the words of Mourners Kaddish. Yitzgadal v'yitzkadash shmei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehe shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam ulalmei almaya, yitzbarach v'yishtabach v'yitzpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'it hadar, v'it aleh, v'it halal, shemei dekudsha, brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'ol kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'ol kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, amen. Zichronam livracha, may all of their memories be for a blessing, to which we say, amen. Please be seated. It's my pleasure to invite Cindy Monroe to share words of announcement so we can hear what is going on at Temple Beth Torah. Good evening.
Torah study will resume this Sunday, January 22nd at 11 a.m. on Zoom. With numerous storms and flooding, the Hebrew Free Loan can provide relief to Jewish individuals in Northern California and those who work at Jewish institutions facing financial hardship due to storm damage. For those who qualify, they can provide interest-free loans to help with various costs, including temporary lodging, loss of income, emergency home repairs, or replacing belongings. If you'd like to learn more or would like to apply, please visit, and I'm going to say a URL right now, but in all honesty, you got it in your email if you get our weekly emails. It's www.hflasf.org/disaster. The Social Action Committee is accepting cash donations for Fremont's Clean Start program through next Friday, January 27th. They will also be at TBT tomorrow, Saturday, January 21st from 10:30 to noon. This is during the tour time. If you prefer to drop off new adult-sized sweatshirts or sweatpants with the tags on, and this will be the last opportunity to bring new clothes here to donate instead of donating cash. Rabbi Zoe and the Sheeds are going to be attending a performance of In Every Generation, a celebration of Jewish tradition put on by Theater Works of Silicon Valley in Mountain View on Tuesday, January 31st at 7:30, and they'd love for you to join them. This is an ASL interpreted performance. Contact Rabbi Zoe or Mara if you have any questions. Experience Violins of Hope, Strings of the Holocaust. If you haven't signed up to experience this incredibly important and powerful program, now is the time. Hear stories and music of violins that have survived the Holocaust at Livermore's Bankhead Theater at the beginning of February. The Sunday, July 5th date is already sold out, but there's still seats for Monday and Tuesday performances. For information, check the weekly or go to the Social Action page on our website for more details. Bay Area Synagogue's online art auction. Several Bay Area synagogues, including Temple Beth Torah, have come together to offer a wide variety of art items in one online auction. Find that perfect piece for your home or as a unique gift. The auction runs through January 30th. The link to view or bid on items is in this week's weekly email. Ladies, TBT invites you to kick off 2023 with an informal, in-person only event where we'll enjoy some potluck and a sip of wine while we socialize. Let's mingle on Sunday, February 12th at 3 p.m. in the TBT Social Hall. Bring either your favorite appetizer or dessert and your favorite bottle of wine or non-alcoholic beverage to share. And let's catch up. Coffee and tea are provided by WTBT. For questions, email events@bethtorahfremont.org. The registration deadline is February 10th. Volunteers are needed for affordable housing inquiries. Jewish Family and Community Services of the East Bay needs volunteers to help call their list of affordable housing complexes to see when new apartments become available around Alameda and Contra Costa counties. They're seeking volunteers who are willing to do this for 1 to 2 hours per week on an ongoing basis. Volunteers will receive training from their case managers and partner with other volunteers. This is the perfect opportunity to work from home and volunteer for the job. For anyone who likes administrative tasks. For more information, check out the Social Action webpage or email socialaction@bethtorah-fremont.org. I think it's a dash. And we'd like to thank Rabbi Sachs-Toller for sharing her inspiring words and your voice with us on this evening. And thanks to Janice Fontano, Susan Amaro, and Joe Eagle for representing the worship committee tonight. Thanks, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom. And a special thanks to Cindy for being our one woman, she's our AV person, she's our board rep, she is incredible and we're grateful to her for everything that she does for our community. So, speaking of gratitude, let's say some blessings. We will start off with blessings for family. If you would like to reach out to somebody that you consider family, please feel free to do so. If you are not in the room with somebody that you would like to send this blessing to, feel free to close your eyes and hold them in your heart, and we hope that they receive this blessing. May God bless you and keep you. May God shine God's face upon you and be gracious to you. May God's face turn to you and grant you peace, to which we say, Amen. Amen. And now we will say Kiddush and Motzi, and it's my pleasure to invite back up Rabbi Sachs Toller. And for our friends who are not me or Rabbi Sachs Toller, who are in person, there is challah and grape juice after the service. And if you are at home, I hope that you will have something yummy and something sweet to welcome in Shabbat. We are on page 123. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'atzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim ki vanu v'charta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim ve'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. L'chaim. And our motzi is nice and soft. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avon. We will conclude our service this evening with Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Peace will come our way. If I can ever find my guitar pick. I found it. We're good. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam, salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Wishing you a wonderful Shabbat. If you have any questions about RAC California, Rabbi Sachs Toller will be here for a little bit if you want to come up and talk with her. And I wish you a wonderful rest of your Shabbat.